And also, financial regulators back on Capitol Hill this morning for a second day of testimony on why SVB failed, this time before the House Financial Services Committee, back on the hot seat this morning. Federal Reserve Vice Chair of Supervision, Michael Barr, and then the FTC Chair, Martin Grunberg, and Treasury Undersecretary for Domestic Finance, Nellie Leung. They're all going to be testifying in identical opening remarks this morning. Barr will again call SVB's failure a textbook case of mismanagement due to failure to manage its interest rate and liquidity. That risk, of course. Jen, we'll bring you in on this. Our own Jen Schonberger is tracking all of this. Jen, what's really teed up down there? What are you going to be listening for?
Hey there. Good morning, Brad. You took some of the words right out of my mouth. That's right. Financial regulators back on Capitol Hill this morning for a second day of testimony on why SVB failed, this time before the House Financial Services Committee. You mentioned there we're going to hear from the Federal Reserve Vice Chair of Supervision, Michael Barr, along with the head of the FDIC, Martin Grunberg, and Treasury Undersecretary for Domestic Finance, Nellie Leung. We are going to hear identical remarks from Barr, who will again call SVB's failure a textbook case of mismanagement due to failure to manage its interest rate and liquidity risk. Barr, who is conducting an official review of why SVB failed and what should be done to prevent such failures, told Senate lawmakers Tuesday he anticipates strengthening capital and liquidity standards for banks with over $100 billion in assets. Today, expect House Republicans to push back on Barr for strengthening rules, challenging that the issue is not the lack of rules, but the failure of examiners to properly police how SVB manages risks. In opening remarks, Maxine Waters, the top Democrat on the House Financial Services Committee, who spearheaded briefings from regulators on SVB's collapse initially, will debunk the Republican narrative about bank failures, saying, quote, "Let me be very, very clear. Silicon Valley Bank collapsed because of management failures and possible regulatory weaknesses." She goes on to say, "We must uncover how management, regulatory, and supervisory failures contributed to these events and explore solutions to strengthen the safety and soundness of our banks." She goes on to say the community banks should not pay for SVB's failure. FDIC Chair Grunberg told the Senate Tuesday that the FDIC board has discretion to decide which banks would pay for SVB's failure and implied community banks could be exempt. Grunberg says the agency is conducting a review on deposit insurance that is likely to be a very hot topic today, and we should watch for whether Republicans and Democrats could coalesce around some of these issues on deposit insurance, because that could pave the way for potential legislation on that front. Back to you.
All right, Jennifer Schonberger, thank you very much. And we're looking there at the beginning of that hearing, Patrick McHenry talking there as it kicks off.